Hello, I'm Kirk with AEG and I'm going to show you how to play Shake That City. If you still need to build your cube shaker, check out my video on how to assemble it at this link. I'm going to start with game setup, but if you want to just learn how to play, skip to that chapter in the description below. Note that the game I'm using is a prototype, and the final production copy will have art and color changes. Gameplay consists of 15 rounds where each player will take turns using the cube shaker to make a 3x3 pattern of cubes. Players will use those cubes and pick a color to add buildings in that color and pattern to their player board. At the end of the game, players will earn victory points for tile placement combinations and for completed bonus tiles around the edge of the board. The player with the most victory points wins. Let's start with setting up the game. Put all 32 wooden cubes into the cube shaker and place it at the center of the table. Just drop them all on the top and push them into the cube window. Place the round tracker board above the cube shaker with the round tracker disc placed on the one. Next, place all the building tiles within reach of all players. Place a player board in front of each player. All players should play on the same side of the board for each game. For your first game, use the landlocked side that's shown. Give each player a set of 7 different bonus tiles. The tile sets are numbered 1 to 4 on the yellow side. For storage, I keep each player's set in separate bags so I don't have to separate them every single game. Whoever was the last person to shake something is the first active player. They will place their corner bonus tile on a corner of their board, and all players should place their corner tiles on the same corner. It's essential that all player boards use the same cardinal orientation on the table, no matter which way they are facing while in their seats. Next, the active player shuffles the rest of their bonus tiles and places 3 along one side branching from the corner tile and the other 3 along the other side. Once all the bonus tiles have been randomized and set to the active player's board, the rest of the players can flip all theirs and match them exactly to the way the active players are set. Next, place the 2 score reference boards between the players within easy reach. Make sure that you are using the landlocked side. The little player board icon on the bottom left of the board should match the art of the player boards you are using. If you're ready to play with the beachfront side of the boards, simply flip them to that side during game setup and make sure that the score reference boards are also flipped to the beachfront side. Note that board orientation matters here. All boards should be facing the same cardinal direction on the table, regardless of which way players are facing in their seats. Setup is virtually the same for 2 and 3 players. Just make sure that all bonus tiles are set the same, and facing the same cardinal direction on the table no matter where anyone is sitting. Shake That City is played over 15 rounds. Each round the active player will shake the cubes and lay a pattern on the table and choose a color. All other players will choose a different color. Then everyone will place building tiles on their board. The shaker is reloaded and passed to the next player to become the active player for the next round. The round starts with the active player giving the cube shaker a nice shake on the table and pressing the lever to drop the cubes. Be sure to release the lever fully before lifting it off the table. Be sure to keep the shaker in line with the table and don't deposit the cubes at an angle. Also, whatever you do, don't shake the shaker up and down. This is a sure way to toss cubes out the top and all over the table. Now it's time for the active player to choose a color from the pattern. In this example, they have chosen red and will take 3 red home tiles from the supply. Once that choice has been made by the active player, the rest of the players are free to simultaneously choose any other color available except red. Player 2 has chosen green and takes 3 green tiles, while players 3 and 4 have both chosen gray and each will grab 3 gray tiles. Let's take a closer look at placing building tiles on your board. Each cube color corresponds to a building tile with the same color border. Gray cubes are roads, green cubes are parks, black cubes are factories, blue cubes are shops, and red cubes are homes. When you choose a color, you must take the same number of building tiles in that color, and they all have to be used. If you choose blue in this example, you must use all 3 blue tiles. You can't just choose 2 of them. The tiles must be set onto your board in the same pattern and orientation as the cubes. All the tiles have to fit onto the board and in an empty space. Here I'm showing you all of the places these 3 blue tiles can fit. All of the positions where all 3 tiles fit on the board are correct, and the couple of examples where one of the tiles falls off the board are incorrect. Note that you cannot rotate the pattern. You must keep the same orientation as the cubes on the table. You also must keep the tiles in the same configuration as the cubes on the table. You cannot rearrange them. You must place all the building tiles from the color and pattern that you have chosen. If you cannot fit all the tiles, you must choose a different building color that will fit. In this example, red, blue, and gray will not fit on this board. So if green is available to this player, they must place it. You cannot skip placing tiles. The exception to this is only when there is no building color pattern available for you to place. Whether it's because no pattern fits, or the only pattern that would fit, it was chosen by the active player before you. You will not place any tiles for that turn. Once all players have placed their tiles for the round, the active player will move the round tracker disc forward 1 space, put the cubes on the table back in the shaker, and then pass the shaker to the player on their left. Rounds 1 through 12 are all played the same way for any number of players, with the round tracker disc moving along the track and the shaker being passed around. This ensures everyone gets an equal number of turns as the active player. Rounds 13, 14, and 15 are played with a slight change to the choose building color step. During these last 3 rounds, all building colors in the pattern of cubes are available to all players. Whichever building color the active player chooses is not blocked by everyone else. During the game, keep an eye on your bonus tiles. When you fulfill either half of a bonus point tile, flip it over to score 3 points. You don't need to fulfill both requirements. For example, to flip this bonus tile, I just need to fill the row that this red home's half is pointing to with at least 4 home tiles, or I can fill the row with the other half with 6 tiles of any type. I only need to meet the requirement for one half of the tile, not both. This works the same for the parks, roads, shops, and factory bonus tiles. The 6th tile has a special requirement on one half. That half needs at least 4 different tiles on that row to be flipped. For example, 1 road, 1 factory, 1 park, and 1 home in that row could flip the tile. Finally, note that each half of a bonus tile is pointing to its own specific row. If I get 4 houses in the row of this bonus tile requiring it to be filled with 6 tiles, this will not flip the tile. I would need to fill the empty 2 spots with any 2 tiles to meet the requirement of this half to flip it. The last tile is the corner tile. It's not pointing to any specific rows. It's looking at the whole board to be filled with at least 2 of each building tile. Once you have 2 homes, 2 roads, 2 factories, 2 shops, and 2 parks anywhere on your board, you may flip the corner tile for 3 points. The game ends on the 15th round after all players have placed their last building tiles. Players may now add up their scores. As I go over scoring, I will refer to tiles that are adjacent. Adjacent in Shake That City always refers to orthogonally adjacent tiles, never diagonal. For roads to score, they like to be connected out of town to a concrete edge of the player board. Roads score 1 point per road that leads to the edge of the board. Single road tiles on the edge will score. For roads that are not connected to a concrete edge, they will need to be connected to other roads that do lead to the edge of the board. Those connections must be adjacent. In the example, we have 2 roads that were not connected to the edge. By placing a few more adjacent roads to them, we can get them all connected to the edge so they can all score. Parks help beautify neighborhoods when they are adjacent to homes and factories. Each park will score 1 point when adjacent to any number of homes and 1 point when adjacent to any number of factories for a maximum of 2 when next to both. Note that any additional homes and/or factories placed next to those parks will not add any more points. Factories do better when next to other factories and like to be next to roads for their operations. Each factory will score 1 point if adjacent to any number of other factories, and 1 point if adjacent to any number of roads, for a maximum of 2 points when next to both. Like parks, they do not score more for any additional factories and/or roads placed next to them. Note that factories just need any road next to them to score, even if that road is not connected to the edge. Shops do better in centralized locations, but must rely on roads to bring in commerce from out of town. They score only if connected to the concrete edge of the board, either by being adjacent to it or by being adjacent to roads that do lead to the edge. How many points they score depends on the zone they are in. Shops in the green zone score 1 point. Connected shops in the brown zone score 2 points. Note that shops are only connected when adjacent to roads that reach the edge. Connections cannot be made through other shops. And finally, connected shops in the gray zone will score 3 points. Homes do well on their own, but don't score extra for crowded neighborhoods. Home values go down if they are adjacent to factories. Homes score 2 points for each single home or each group of adjacent homes. For example, these 3 homes all score 2 points each, but groups of homes don't get any benefit. They still only score 2 points for the group. Avoid putting factories next to your homes, as any home or group of homes adjacent to a factory will score 0 points. Now you're ready to break out the score pad and see who won. I find it easiest to go down the list and count the score for each tile type, one at a time for each player. Don't forget to add the bonus points for flip bonus tiles. Let's quickly go over the scoring for the beachfront side of the board. Roads score the same here, but note that now there are only 2 concrete sides of the board for roads to connect to. Any roads along the beachfront edge will need to be connected by roads that reach that concrete edge. On the beachfront side, parks no longer score for being adjacent to factories. They do still score 1 point for being next to any number of houses. They also score 1 point for being adjacent to the beach. They can score a maximum of 2 points for being next to both. There is no change to how factories score. They still want to be adjacent to other factories and roads. Shops also score the same, but the green, brown, and gray zones have been moved around, so you have to do a little more work with roads to make sure they are connected to one of the 2 concrete edges of the board. Single homes and groups of homes still score 2 points, but any home or group of homes that are adjacent to the beach will score 3 points instead. You still want to avoid placing factories next to them, as they will then score 0 points. Special thanks to the designers Mads and Core, and thank you for watching. All of us here at AG hope you enjoy playing Shake That City as much as we do.